So one of the certainly true things about our lives is that life comes in seasons. And some seasons are abundant and blessed, and some seasons are dry and tiresome and full of trial and maybe waiting, or whatever that may be. And if you find yourself in that season, what do? Because maybe you have experienced seasons of abundant blessing, where the Lord is good and everything is peace and joy and grace. And maybe you find yourself now, or you've found yourself before, in a season of just like, Lord, where are you? Lord, why is this happening to me in this way? And what does this all mean? And things just seem heavier and harder. How do you respond in a season like that? I made a partner video to this video talking about how we respond in those seasons of blessings. So if you want to watch that video, it's a link in the description below, so you can click on that if you want to hear about that as well. If you find yourself there, or if you just want to hear about that. In this video, we're talking about seasons of dryness and trial. It just feels really dark in here. I don't know. Is that at all better? Okay. Maybe one of the most important things to say to start about, if you find yourself, especially if you just feel spiritually dry, like prayer is just not as good as it has been before, or I just don't feel like the Lord's grace like it has been before, or the Lord feels distant to me in some way. The truth is that the Lord is no further away from you than he ever has been, and that the Lord always remains close to us, and he doesn't separate himself from us. But I think he does, because I think we all have this experience, that he does take away his consolations from us sometimes. Because if all our spiritual life is just the Lord pouring out his blessings upon us, then maybe he becomes just like a genie in a lamp, or maybe he becomes just like a machine that we press a few buttons and we get our blessings. It's like automatic. And that's just not how God is, and that's not what love is. If you take Luke chapter 6, verse 32, and this is Jesus talking about loving your neighbor and loving your enemies, but I think that we can also apply maybe this to loving the Lord in some way. Jesus says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. That if we only love God, if we only persevere in prayer and seek the Lord when he's pouring out his blessings upon us, do we really love the Lord? Are we really faithful to God even when it doesn't seem like he's super close to us, pouring out his consolation, his grace, and his peace on us? Because this is true in any relationship, that if we only stuck with our friends, with our close relationships, when they were good, when everything was sunshine and rainbows, and when we had any kind of conflict, or when there was any kind of like, when things weren't good, we just said, no, sorry. That's not love. That's not what a relationship needs to be. So may we persevere in the dryness, in the trial, because in some ways, that's the most important times that we can draw close to and seek the Lord. Because if the Lord were to reward us in times when we are faithful to him, when he's pouring out his grace on us, how much more would the Lord reward us when we get nothing in return? But yet we say, Lord, you are good and you are faithful, and I want to be faithful to you, even when I don't see it, because that's what faith means. We can also have hope in that perseverance, that perseverance is good for us. That the time when we kind of build that discipline in the dryness, in the trial, produces good things for us. St. Paul says in Romans chapter 5, says, not only that, we also boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us. That perseverance through our sufferings, endurance builds character, builds hope. And hope does not disappoint. What is it that we hope for? St. Paul says in the second letter to Corinthians chapter 4, so we do not lose heart, even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this slight momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure. This is what we hope for. That even in the midst of of our times of dryness, times of trial, times of waiting, our times of affliction, that this momentary affliction, this passing and fleeting dryness and trial is only preparing us for what's to come. And what's to come is an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure, that every time, after the Advent comes Christmas, after the Lent comes Easter, after the crucifixion and the death comes the resurrection and the glory of the Lord. This is what we understand in the liturgical life, in the scriptures, in the story of salvation, that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always hope in Jesus Christ, and we are an Easter people. Even though sometimes life is hard, seems heavy, maybe it's dry, maybe we have to wait, there's always something good. And that's a promise from the Lord, and Jesus cannot lie. God cannot lie to us, and He promises us good. He promises us that if we persevere in this momentary affliction, there is glory to come. Wow, as I started talking about this, it just got lighter in the room. Because there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and if you find yourself in a time of dryness and trial, that's real, but to stick with it. And I think that this is the most important time that we can draw close to the Lord, because He will bless us. If we wrestle with the Lord, if we wrestle and persevere through this trial, we arrive at glory. The glory and the peace and the hope and the love and the joy that the Lord has in store for us. And what do you do when you arrive at that blessing and abundance? The second video is linked in the description if you want to listen to that. But take hope, because hope does not disappoint, even in the time of trial, that there is an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure waiting for you, my friend.